The next set of questions I'm putting up now will be answered by His Excellency the Governor of Lagos State. The first one here talks about the ways the Lagos State government will be taking steps to assist the discourse fight against energy theft and vandalism of power installations and equipment. We'd like to see stringent laws and a summary judicial process for such cases. That's from Wala Ojoye. Another one says, when are major projects going to be commissioned? Lekki Free Trade Zone, 4th Mainland Bridge, Blue Rail Line, etc. And this is for Governor Fashola as well. Talks about BRT buses. I believe they should be up now, live for him to view. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite His Excellency, the Governor of Lagos State.
Well, I take the view that in the aftermath of the privatization of the power sector, the municipal governments and the state governments have become, in a sense, the local regulators of the power companies. And so going forward, we certainly will be working with the owners of the distribution companies. Our government has met with both companies, and we have shared with them our views about what we think we should be doing together, how, for example, to make rights of way available for them to put in place their distribution assets without in any way altering the total urban plan and development plans for the state. Some of the things that we saw, for example, was that even the distribution poles that were being erected under the NIPP project were being erected without regard to local planning regulations. In some instances, I saw poles being erected in the middle of a road, and we had to write to have them move back to the setbacks where they should be. So, in a nutshell, we will be the local regulators helping them to grow their business, put their business assets in place. And as you have heard from the Electricity Board, we are sharing data that it costs a lot of money to gather data about where their customers are, where the assets are, that we had gathered by energy audits. Today also, I believe on the Lagos Electricity Board website, there's an energy calculator there that I urge all residents to get on, load their information, because this information will be ultimately available to the power distribution companies to help them plan more accurately what kind of power you will need and in what quantity and in what place. Of course, registering under the Lagos Residence Registration Program is another way that we have sought to assist not just businesses generally, but also power sector operators, because all of that data is going to be available not only to government alone, but also to all service providers to enable them know more precisely, because once you have the data, really, you can do all sorts of things with it. You can sort, you can crunch, you can analyze, and this will be available to business once we have people populating them. I think now this is... Yes, the question about BRT buses is first to understand from Ben's report that expanding the BRT route is not a finished job, and the main route, which is the Ikorodu to Lagos Island, and the ones that have expanded to places like Iyanokpaja and so on and so forth, show scope for expansion and improvement. By the time, perhaps when we finish Mile 12 into Ikorodu, there's a BRT corridor built into that road expansion. There's also a BRT corridor built into the Badagry Expressway corridor. So it's an ongoing process that as we expand road networks, we are integrating bus corridors into them. In terms of the quality of the buses and so on, that is really where private sector must raise its game. That is where there must be new rules of governance in terms of the way the companies are managed. I have met the buses, for the record, belongs to the unions, not to government. The two businesses here, the blue buses and some of the red buses that we loaned to the unions to help start this business. It is the companies that must, as I have told them, institute new corporate governance rules. They must put back into the business what the business generates. The business has done well. It has paid back its loan. But have they reinvested back with the same commitment? Those are issues that are working with the transport unions to help them get business operators, help them create a more reliable company out of this and to continue to reinvest. Of course, the gap to catch is a huge gap. So you will see queues because not only is our population already big, it was big from then, but it is increasing every day. We are feeling the impact of some of the disturbances across the country in the number of forced migrations that are coming in here and demanding service. That is the reality from what we measure on a day-to-day basis. On our side, we have an interest in the red bus company, the black bus company, but the scope also is to operate in less commercially profitable routes so that we have left the more commercially viable routes to the unions to lead the business. The challenges here in the sense that the turnaround time for the buses, also the depreciation in their life expectancy, and the speed of replacement and refurbishment are still issues that we are contending with. It took us almost a year, for example, to find somebody who had the specialty for fleet management and operations. Some of the people we shortlisted just didn't meet the cuts that we wanted, and we had to reopen the advertisements. And I think we just got people in now who have run this kind of operation before, because there are special skills there in fleeting buses and making sure that they run 24/7, replacing parts. And also, we don't manufacture buses here. So when the buses break down, you have to go through the process of LPOs. Even the parts are imported. So there's a lot of work to be done in making sure that we put those buses on the road. In most of the other countries where you see buses on the road 24/7 in good condition is because most of those buses are either manufactured in those countries and they don't sit for 6 months with all sorts of regulations clearing them from the ports. That's quite another one. There is a local foundry and metallurgy industry that is producing parts so that parts can be put in very quickly and replaced very quickly. Buses will break down. Anything that is made by human beings will suffer wear and tear and depreciate. Now, what is the lead time between replacement and breakdown? Of course, there is also the issue. The operating costs are no longer the same. When this business started, it started at a time, I recall, that the Naira was trading to the dollar at $1 to 118 Naira. Now it is now trading at over 160 Naira. But consumers, of course, are going to be the first to put up a protest when these operators want to increase prices. So those are some of the realities that we all must deal with. Well, the transition plan really rests with Lagosians. I'm sure that our government and our party will put forward the most reliable candidates at the time, and it is your duty, if you want this to continue, to go and cast your vote And it is a vote that I think should be based on competence and what you want, rather than emotions, passions, ethnicity, and religion. The continuity of this has nothing to do with religion, and it will have nothing to do with ethnic issues. It will have everything to do with competence and putting a leader there whose eyes will remain on the ball.
Government coming up with policies to reduce accidents on waterways.
Yeah, again, it's sad that we have accidents in any form that takes people's life. That really saddens me every time that it happens. But as I've said on occasion, we can only plan for the worst and hope for the best. In trying to get the best, citizens have a responsibility for their own safety. We have set up a Lagos State Waterways Authority in order to be able to respond to safety issues on water, just like LASMA. But of course, you know the emerging issues about the national government saying that even on lagoons, it has a NIWA, and therefore they want to be there. But they want to be there in name. They have no patrol boats. They have no personnel, and so on and so forth. Now, is this about people, or is this about just tough squabble? We have put in there regulations about the necessity to wear life vests anytime you are stepping on a boat. Now, it is for you as commuters on ferries and canoes and whatever to insist that the boat provider must provide you with the life jackets. That is the minimum that we have done. Very soon again, I was telling President Saakashvili that people want everything to be free. So very soon we've procured some life vests again that we're going to give out free. But even where the life vests are there, are you ready to insist that every passenger on the ferry must use one? Are you ready to use one when it is presented to you? Or are you ready to take a chance with your own life? Because accidents will happen even amongst three people. Domestic accidents happen in our homes. And so in this very large family of over 20 million people, accidents will happen. We will do our best to prevent their occurrences, but a lot also lie in people not overspeeding. A lot lie in people complying with rules and regulations, really at the end of the day. And when accidents happen, will you give us a chance to get a recovery team to you because you have worn a life vest and you can stay afloat? Or did you take the chance? Did you think that it was unlikely to happen? These are the issues that we will continue to really agitate about. Every time they tell us on an airplane, fasten your seatbelt, many of us have flown planes without incident. But it just might be definitive on the day we choose not to wear the seatbelt. Every time people say, wear your seatbelts when you are driving, it's for our own good. I know that my son, well, he's now an adult, so he can drive, but I know that he learned the hard way when he was about 3. Taking him to school every morning, he always wanted to sit down in front with me. I always insisted that he should stay at the back. But there was a morning I was taking him to school, and suddenly I had to stop. But because I knew what was going to happen, it was my arm that saved him from flying out through the window. And I said, do you see now why you have to stay at the back and strap yourself? He said, yes, Daddy. And that was the end of the discussion. But he learned in a very hard way, but a safe way. So we shouldn't be the example as victims. We should be the examples as best practice, as evidence of. You will never see me near a boat without a life vest on. It's not because I expect to die, but because I know that it's a sensible thing to do. And every member of our government knows that too. You will not see them near a boat without their life vests on. And if you follow those simple examples, I think we can all stay alive.